Have you ever felt like being hunted by someone who's supposed to protect you? The most dangerous predator is often the one who's been studying your habits, your patterns, and your vulnerabilities for years. On May 9, 2020, at 2:11 p.m., Suzanne Morphew sent what investigators would later call her last, proof-of-life, photo to her secret lover. A selfie. A smile. A woman who had no idea she was documenting her final hours. At 2:26 p.m., her husband Barry texted, "I'm on my way home." The irony is suffocating. While Suzanne was planning her escape from a marriage that had become her prison, Barry, a man who had spent his entire life hunting and controlling wild animals, was preparing to hunt the most dangerous prey of all, his own wife. But here's the question that will haunt you. If our instincts are designed to keep us alive, why do some people sense danger and run, while others, like Suzanne, never see the predator coming? Because sometimes, the most dangerous hunter is the one who's been watching you sleep. Suzanne Morphew was 49 years old when she vanished on Mother's Day 2020. But to understand her murder, we need to go back to where it all began, Alexandria, Indiana, where a popular high school girl fell for the star baseball player who would one day become her killer. Suzanne was everything Barry wasn't: beloved, warm, social. She was a schoolteacher who left her career to raise their daughters, Mallory and Macy. Barry was the athlete, drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays, who built a landscaping empire after his baseball dreams faded. For 25 years, they seemed like the perfect couple. But perfection, as we know, is often a mask. The move to Colorado in 2020 was supposed to be a fresh start, closer to their daughter Mallory's college. But friends whispered it was really an attempt to save a marriage that was already rotting from the inside. The warning signs were there, preserved forever in text messages Suzanne sent to friends. "I feel no peace when he's here. I would not feel safe alone with him. He won't speak of divorce." And then, just days before she disappeared, Suzanne sent Barry the message that may have sealed her fate. "I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly." Civilly. The word that would drive a hunter to do what he'd done his entire life: eliminate what he couldn't control. Have you ever stayed in a relationship that felt like a trap? How many red flags do we ignore because we trust someone we once loved? What Suzanne didn't know was that her marriage had become a hunting ground. And Barry Morphew, experienced in tracking, trapping, and killing, had been studying his prey for years. The discovery of a spy pen in their bedroom tells us everything about the paranoia that had infected their home. Suzanne bought it, hoping to catch Barry in an affair. Instead, she accidentally recorded her own conversations with her secret lover. The hunter had become the hunted, and she didn't even know it. By 2020, Suzanne was living a double life. For nearly 2 years, she'd been having an affair with Jeff Leibler, a high school acquaintance from Indiana. They communicated through secret WhatsApp and LinkedIn accounts, meeting for romantic rendezvous across multiple states. New Orleans, Florida, Texas, Michigan, Indiana. Each meeting was a step further away from Barry, and closer to what she thought was freedom. But freedom, for Suzanne, was always an illusion. Because when you're married to a predator, there's no such thing as escape. On May 9, 2020, Suzanne and her lover exchanged 59 messages. 59 glimpses of a woman trying to claw her way out of a marriage that had become a cage. What would it take for you to completely rebuild your life? And what would you do if someone tried to stop you? At 2:11 p.m. on May 9, 2020, Suzanne Morphew sent a selfie to her lover. She was radiant, happy, planning a future that didn't include her husband. 15 minutes later, at 2:26 p.m., Barry texted, "I'm on my way home." This wasn't just a husband coming home from errands. This was a hunter returning to his territory, sensing that his prey was about to bolt. Barry tried calling Suzanne. No answer. He texted again, "Did you leave?" Still nothing. But Barry Morphew wasn't the type of man who accepted silence. He was a man who had spent his entire life tracking, capturing, and killing things that tried to run from him. The truck's computer would later reveal the timeline of what happened next. While Barry claimed he went to bed at 8 p.m., his Ford pickup's doors were opening and closing all night long. The truck backed up toward the house at 9:30 p.m. A man was moving in the darkness. A man with a plan. Barry's phone pinged all around their property that night. When investigators asked him about this unusual activity, he gave them what would become known as the world's first chipmunk alibi. He claimed he was running around the property, shooting 85 chipmunks that were a constant nuisance. But neighbors heard no gunshots. No disturbances. No sounds of a man at war with woodland creatures. What they did find was a clear plastic needle cap in the family dryer. A cap that fit syringes used to load tranquilizer darts. Barry Morphew wasn't just a landscaper. He was a hunter who had illegally tranquilized deer for years, cutting off their antlers to sell. He knew how to track prey. He knew how to sedate it. And he knew how to make it disappear. Have you ever noticed how the most dangerous people are often the ones who seem most normal? How predators perfect the art of appearing harmless. The morning of May 10, 2020, Mother's Day, Barry Morphew left his home at dawn, supposedly for a job 150 miles away in Broomfield, Colorado. By all accounts, Suzanne was still alive. Their daughters, Mallory and Macy, were returning from a camping trip. They texted their mother, "Happy Mother's Day." She never responded. When the girls couldn't reach their mother, Barry asked neighbors to check on her. They found her mountain bike staged on a cliff, no blood, no clothing, no signs of struggle. Her helmet was discovered a mile away. Her sunglasses and hydration pack were still in her car. This wasn't the scene of a mountain biking accident. This was theater. A performance designed to misdirect investigators while the real crime scene was being sanitized. Inside the house, investigators found a dark vertical crack along the master bedroom door frame. The previous owners confirmed it wasn't there when they sold the house. This was the mark of violence. Of a struggle. Of a man trying to get to his prey after it had been wounded. The truth would emerge years later, when Suzanne's remains were finally found. In her bone marrow, toxicologists discovered BAM, a compound used to tranquilize wildlife. The same compound Barry had admitted to using on deer just 1 month before Suzanne disappeared. But here's what makes this murder particularly chilling. The drug takes several minutes to cause sedation. Tests revealed that Suzanne's death wasn't immediate. Her body had begun to metabolize the drug before she died. She was conscious. She knew what was happening. And she was helpless to stop it. Can you imagine the terror of being hunted by someone you once trusted? Of realizing that your home had become your execution chamber? In true crime, we often talk about smoking guns. But in the Suzanne Morphew case, there wasn't just one, there was an entire arsenal of evidence pointing straight at Barry Morphew. The plastic needle cap wasn't just found, it was discovered in the one place someone might try to sanitize it, the family dryer. Heat and tumbling action, perfect for destroying DNA evidence. But Barry had underestimated modern forensic science. His truck's computer recorded everything. Doors opening and closing when he claimed to be asleep, the vehicle backing up toward the house at 9:30 p.m., movements that contradicted every part of his story. His phone records painted a picture of a man in panic. Instead of going straight to work the next morning, he made multiple stops at hotel dumpsters, throwing away trash at various locations. He claimed he was just avoiding landfill fees. Investigators believed he was disposing of evidence. 3 days after Suzanne disappeared, investigators photographed apparent scratch marks on Barry's arm. The signs of a struggle that Barry claimed never happened. But the most damning evidence was the BAM compound found in Suzanne's remains. Prescription records revealed that when Suzanne disappeared, only one private citizen in that entire area of Colorado had legal access to BAM. Barry Morphew. The hunter's tools had become his confession. In an age where every device creates a digital fingerprint, do you think it's possible to commit the perfect crime? Or does technology always leave a trail? Barry Morphew was first arrested on May 5, 2021, nearly a year after Suzanne disappeared. But this wasn't going to be a simple case of murder and conviction. The prosecution's strategy was methodical: motive, means, and opportunity. Suzanne wanted a divorce. Barry had access to tranquilizer drugs. And he had the perfect alibi, until technology proved him wrong. The defense painted a different picture. They claimed Barry was the victim of prosecutorial misconduct, that DNA evidence from an unknown male found in Suzanne's car pointed to another killer entirely. That unknown DNA was connected to unsolved sexual assault cases in 3 different states. For a moment, it seemed like Barry might have been framed by coincidence. But then the prosecution's case began to crumble. Not because Barry was innocent, but because of their own mistakes. Judge Ramsey Lama imposed devastating sanctions on the prosecution for discovery violations. 11 of their 16 expert witnesses were barred from testifying. The case was falling apart. On April 19, 2022, just 9 days before trial, all charges against Barry Morphew were dismissed without prejudice. He walked out of court a free man, his daughters by his side. But, without prejudice, meant something crucial: the prosecution could charge him again if new evidence emerged. How does it feel to know that sometimes, justice is delayed not by lack of evidence, but by human error? That killers can walk free because of paperwork. For 3 years, Suzanne Morphew's body remained hidden. 3 years of Barry living free in Arizona, maintaining his innocence, supported by his daughters who believed their father was innocent. Then, on September 22, 2023, during an unrelated search in a remote area known as the Boneyard, investigators made a discovery that would change everything. Suzanne's skeletal remains were found in a shallow, clandestine grave less than an hour south of the Morphew home. But here's where the case takes its most disturbing turn. A board-certified anthropologist, botanist, and entomologist all reached the same conclusion: Suzanne's body had not decomposed at this location. She had been moved here after decomposing somewhere else. Suzanne Morphew's body was moved at least twice after her murder. First, from wherever Barry killed her. Then, from her initial burial site to this remote grave. On June 20, 2025, Barry Morphew was arrested for the second time during a traffic stop in Arizona. He's now being held on $3 million cash-only bail, charged with first-degree murder. The case that seemed closed is now wide open again. The hunter who thought he had covered his tracks discovered that some prey leaves traces that can never be erased. His daughters still stand by him. 2 young women who have lost their mother to murder and may lose their father to justice. When families are torn apart by violence, who really wins? Is justice ever enough when children lose both parents to one terrible crime? The Suzanne Morphew case isn't just about a husband who killed his wife. It's about the digital age we live in, where our every move is tracked, recorded, and preserved. In 2020, Suzanne thought she was planning her escape in secret. But her phone recorded her location. Her messages were stored in the cloud. Her final selfie became evidence in her own murder case. Barry Morphew spent his life hunting animals that relied on instinct to survive. But he underestimated the digital trail that follows us everywhere. Every text, every call, every movement of his truck, all of it waiting to testify against him. In our world of constant connection, obsession doesn't need a physical key to your door. It only needs your digital footprint, your location data, your patterns of behavior. The scariest part isn't that Barry Morphew killed his wife. It's that he almost got away with it. If not for modern forensics, if not for digital vehicle data, if not for the persistence of investigators, Suzanne might still be missing. Watch what you share. Notice who's tracking you. Not all followers are friends. And remember, in the digital age, someone is always watching. Next time, we'll explore a case where the killer's biggest mistake was trusting technology to keep their secrets. In true crime, we often ask why. But sometimes, the better question is, how long can you run from someone who knows how to hunt?